The geopolitical and familial conflict between the House of Windsor in London and the Sussex apparatus in Montecito entered an entirely unprecedented and legally volatile phase on the 19th of May 2026. This escalation was triggered by a calculated digital media release orchestrated by Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, marking the 8th anniversary of her marriage to Prince Harry. Investigative journalist and biographical author Tom Bower has conducted a comprehensive forensic analysis of this event, uncovering a complex web of marketing failures, corporate structural collapses, and severe financial desperation that drove the Duchess to execute this high-risk public relations maneuver. According to Bower's investigation, the sudden deployment of 24 previously unreleased, black-and-white archival photographs from the 2018 royal wedding onto newly synchronized digital platforms was not an act of nostalgic celebration. Instead, Bower exposes it as a deliberate, aggressive intervention into the global media market designed to arrest a catastrophic decline in the Sussex brand's commercial metrics, which had collapsed following disastrous public campaigns in Australia and at the World Health Organization, WHO, in Geneva earlier this year. Tom Bower's investigative findings reveal that the primary structural catalyst for Meghan Markle's desperate digital maneuver was the total commercial failure of her newly launched lifestyle and wellness brand. Internal corporate data leaked to investigative teams indicates that the initial phase of the brand launch, which relied heavily on a grassroots influencer marketing campaign involving the distribution of limited edition organic fruit preserves and artisanal candles to selected Hollywood personalities, failed to generate any measurable consumer conversion or sustainable retail interest. Corporate registries and financial filings from California show that by April 2026, the Sussex's production and media entity had been drastically downsized, collapsing from a fully staffed corporate infrastructure to a skeletal operation consisting of just 2 full-time employees. Major American streaming platforms and global publishing houses, which originally signed multi-million-dollar content creation contracts with the Duke and Duchess following their departure from active royal duties in 2020, have systematically scaled back their financial commitments, refused to renew development deals, and canceled pending unscripted projects due to a complete lack of original content production. Bower's investigation demonstrates that this rapid contraction of corporate capital placed the Sussexes under extreme financial pressure. The cost of maintaining their extensive private security apparatus, combined with the substantial overhead required to service the debt and maintenance of their multi-million-dollar Montecito estate, has outpaced their current revenue generation capabilities. Royal architectural correspondent Tom Sykes corroborated Bower's economic assessment by directing public attention to specific internal visual data contained within the Duchess's recent commercial promotional videos. Sykes and Bower noted that the videos were filmed within a kitchen space featuring outdated orange-brown wooden cabinetry and hanging copper pots that have not undergone structural remodeling or architectural modernization since approximately 2003. In the hyper-competitive luxury real estate market of Montecito, where corporate executives and tech billionaires routinely execute immediate, comprehensive modernizations of newly acquired properties, the decision to launch a high-end global lifestyle brand from an unrenovated, historically dated space confirms severe capital limitations. Bower explicitly notes that without access to the British sovereign grant and the public tax revenues that previously funded the multi-million-pound modern renovation of Frogmore Cottage in Windsor, the Sussexes currently lack the liquidity to maintain a competitive luxury corporate image in the United States. Faced with this systemic brand decay, Meghan Markle implemented a high-risk crisis management strategy on the 19th of May 2026, intended to remonetize her historic connection to the British monarchy. Bower's forensic deconstruction of the digital album reveals a highly specific editorial methodology. The 24 photographs were carefully edited, cropped, and digitally filtered to systematically remove, blur, or obscure every high-ranking, core working member of the British royal family, including King Charles III, Prince William, and Catherine, the Princess of Wales. This structural omission was designed to project an image of absolute institutional and emotional independence from the crown. However, Bower reveals that the Montecito communications team committed a catastrophic technical and strategic oversight during the image vetting process. In their haste to deploy content that would generate maximum digital engagement and counter reports of their growing social isolation, they failed to properly analyze the densely populated backgrounds of the images captured within the historic corridors of St. George's Chapel. The consequence of this vetting failure was the accidental public exposure of a highly sensitive, unedited photograph capturing a severe, hostile confrontation in the immediate prelude to the 2018 bridal procession. This specific image features Maria Borrallo, the elite, Norland-trained nanny who has managed the upbringing of Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis within the household of the Prince and Princess of Wales since 2014. The unedited photograph visually documents a tense, high-conflict interaction in the candlelit hallway of the chapel, showing Maria Borrallo visibly strained as she attempted to manage the young group of bridesmaids and page boys. In the immediate foreground, Prince Harry is captured with his face distorted in an expression of intense agitation, pointing his finger sharply and condescendingly toward the veteran nanny. Standing less than 12 inches behind him is Meghan Markle, observing the hostile confrontation with a completely detached, unblinking gaze. Tom Bower's investigation highlights the immense strategic damage caused by the release of this image, noting that it provides definitive visual validation for the historic palace bullying allegations that have tracked the Duchess of Sussex since 2018. The photograph directly corroborates the official internal complaints filed by former Sussex Communications Secretary Jason Nauf, who formally documented that the Duchess's behavioral patterns had driven multiple personal assistants out of the royal household and systematically undermined the operational confidence of dedicated domestic staff. While the Sussexes had spent years publicly dismissing these allegations during high-profile television interviews as a coordinated, malicious smear campaign orchestrated by the palace machinery, this newly exposed photographic evidence shifts the burden of proof entirely. Corporate human resources analysts, legal experts, and media strategists are now citing the image as raw, unscripted visual proof of a hostile working environment, permanently anchoring the Sussex corporate identity to themes of workplace intimidation and elite entitlement. Furthermore, Bower emphasizes that the accidental release of this photograph has completely dismantled the specific narrative surrounding the infamous 2018 bridesmaid dress incident. In his 2023 memoir, Prince Harry had asserted that the Princess of Wales was solely responsible for the conflict, claiming she had left Meghan Markle weeping on the floor over a dispute regarding Princess Charlotte's poorly fitting French couture garment. The emergence of this unedited photograph in May 2026 provides empirical support for the alternative investigative accounts originally published by British journalists, which stated that an ultra-demanding, hyper-stressed bridal environment managed by Meghan Markle had reduced the 3-year-old Princess Charlotte to tears, leaving Catherine deeply shaken on the eve of the wedding. By releasing this unvetted image to generate commercial traffic for her lifestyle brand, Meghan Markle has inadvertently revived the public memory of that distressing event, dragging Princess Charlotte, now an 11-year-old schoolgirl, back into the center of a global media controversy, solely to serve the immediate financial and promotional needs of the Montecito apparatus. The fallout from the leaked anniversary photograph has accelerated a major shift within the upper echelons of the American entertainment and corporate sectors, resulting in the total social and professional isolation of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Tom Bower's investigation into the aftermath of the May 19 release establishes that the 8th anniversary of the royal wedding passed with a complete lack of public acknowledgement from the global celebrities, media executives, and cultural influencers who had previously formed the core of the Sussexes' support network in the United States. High-profile figures such as Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry, Serena Williams, and David Clooney, who had historically utilized their massive media platforms to validate and defend the couple's narrative against the British monarchy, maintained absolute public silence throughout the international controversy. Bower reveals that this collective silence was not an accidental omission, but a calculated, coordinated effort by elite Hollywood public relations, firms, and talent agencies to systematically distance their clients from a brand that is now universally viewed as litigious, commercially toxic, and structurally unstable. Bower's forensic analysis of the Sussexes network indicates that this widespread corporate and social rejection is driven by deep-rooted fatigue among industry power players regarding the highly transactional nature of relationships managed from the Montecito estate. A primary example of this institutional alienation occurred during the soft launch of the Duchess's lifestyle venture, when hand-selected Hollywood personalities were sent numbered jars of organic fruit preserves and artisanal candles. Bower's interviews with industry insiders revealed that the recipients felt intense professional pressure to utilize their personal, hard-earned digital platforms to act as a free marketing apparatus for a purely commercial, uncapitalized venture. This aggressive method of leveraging social relationships for immediate corporate validation has alienated the exact power brokers whose authentic endorsement the Sussexes require to maintain institutional status in American society. Elite circles in Los Angeles and New York are highly protective of their own global brands and are entirely unwilling to be associated with individuals who routinely violate privacy boundaries, generate volatile workplace allegations, and provoke relentless negative press. This social isolation has occurred simultaneously with a catastrophic decline in the Sussexes' commercial and digital performance metrics verified across the spring of 2026. Global data analysts have recorded a massive drop of over 40% in web traffic, user engagement, and digital subscriptions to the couple's primary domains following their promotional tour of Australia and the Duchess's speech at the World Health Organization in Geneva. Bauer demonstrates that the core structural vulnerability of the Sussex brand is a complete lack of a coherent market identity. Within the span of a single financial quarter, the public is expected to view the Duchess as an important geopolitical thinker lecturing global leaders on international digital safety for children, and then immediately pivot to viewing her as a commercial lifestyle influencer, focused on baking components, home decor, and romantic nostalgia. This disjointed corporate strategy has created immense confusion among consumers and corporate investors alike. With their production company now reduced to just 2 full-time employees and major streaming platforms systematically scaling back financial commitments, the Sussexes are discovering that without the structural backing of the British monarchy, their ability to command attention and revenue in the competitive American market has fundamentally collapsed. The deployment of the unvetted anniversary album was a desperate measure to regain media relevance, but it has instead handed their fiercest critics definitive proof of the very entitlement and volatility that caused their initial corporate decline. The institutional response from the center of the British monarchy to the unauthorized digital release of the wedding photograph was swift, highly coordinated, and entirely driven by the protective paternal instincts of Prince William, the Prince of Wales. Tom Bower's investigation into the internal operations of Kensington Palace reveals that the future king bypassed the traditional royal doctrine of dignified silence to implement a series of direct, aggressive countermeasures designed to permanently insulate his family from further media exploitation from California. The Prince of Wales was reportedly deeply offended by the realization that the historical childhood distress of his daughter, Princess Charlotte, was being used as background material to generate commercial traffic and digital engagement for a failing lifestyle brand in the United States. In immediate response to this strategic provocation, Prince William officially established an operational directive known within the sovereign apparatus as the Iron Curtain Mandate, which permanently alters all structural, legal, and familial interactions with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. The primary and most significant component of this mandate is the absolute, permanent rejection of any future institutional or familial reconciliation. Bower's sources within the sovereign apparatus indicate that Prince William has utilized his considerable authority within the royal estate to completely block any discussions regarding a secret agreement or a structured return to part-time royal duties for Prince Harry, a narrative that had been frequently promoted by communication agents in California to maintain their market value. By taking this definitive stance, the Prince of Wales has signaled that the boundary between the working monarchy and the commercial pursuits of the Sussexes is now completely absolute and irreversible. Furthermore, William has ordered the senior legal teams at Kensington Palace to monitor all digital, commercial, and literary outputs from the Montecito brand. The directive explicitly states that any future use of images, names, or historical data relating to Prince George, Princess Charlotte, or Prince Louis for commercial, promotional, or public relations purposes will be met with immediate and severe legal action for breach of privacy and copyright infringement. To ensure the internal security of the royal household moving forward, the Prince of Wales has also introduced a massive restructuring of information security protocols across all royal residences. This new policy introduces mandatory, legally binding non-disclosure agreements and strict digital privacy training for all domestic staff, nannies, and security personnel. This administrative action was highly intentional, occurring shortly after William personally invested his own authority into the standing of their domestic team by presenting Maria Borrallo with the Royal Victorian Order. By elevating and protecting his staff while simultaneously deploying aggressive legal boundaries against Montecito, William has demonstrated a modern, protective approach to leadership. While the Sussexes continue to struggle with shifting media strategies in California, the Prince of Wales has established a calm, unified, and completely unyielding front in London, demonstrating that the future of the monarchy will be fiercely protected from external commercial exploitation. The implementation of the Iron Curtain Mandate by Kensington Palace was accompanied by a sophisticated public relations strategy where the Prince of Wales chose to completely overwhelm the negative transatlantic media narrative through a series of highly visible, authentic public engagements. Tom Bower's investigation highlights that throughout the weeks following the unauthorized digital release of the wedding photograph, Prince William demonstrated a masterclass in modern sovereign communication by presenting an image of absolute stability, joy, and emotional health. Instead of retreating behind palace walls or issuing defensive press releases that would keep the Sussex controversy alive in the news cycle, the future king stepped directly into the public eye. He utilized his genuine passions and structural duties to present a powerful contrast to the chaotic, commercialized, and increasingly desperate lifestyle of the Sussexes in California. A primary example of this successful counter-strategy occurred when Prince William was observed celebrating with absolute enthusiasm alongside his closest friends at an intense football match for his favored club, Aston Villa. His genuine, unscripted happiness stood as a massive contrast to the heavily produced, emotionally strained digital content emerging from Montecito. By displaying a normal, relatable aspect of his personality, William connected deeply with ordinary citizens across the nation, demonstrating that the future leadership of the country remains grounded, accessible, and stable. This highly successful public appearance was immediately followed by a unified engagement at the Chelsea Flower Show, where William walked calmly alongside King Charles III. This joint appearance sent a clear, undeniable message to international observers that the core monarchy is completely unified, operating with a shared purpose that cannot be disrupted by external media campaigns or family drama. This display of sovereign stability has allowed the British public to contrast the steady leadership of the House of Wales with the desperate, shifting commercial tactics of the Sussexes. While Meghan Markle continues to struggle to define her public identity, shifting rapidly from serious international speeches to commercial lifestyle videos, Prince William and the working royal family have maintained a dignified focus on national service and family protection. By aligning himself with popular national institutions and showing genuine respect for the public, William has successfully minimized the impact of the anniversary media maneuver. The British public has responded with overwhelming support for the Prince of Wales, recognizing that his firm actions are driven by a necessary, protective instinct to insulate his children and the future of the monarchy from ongoing commercial exploitation. Tom Bower notes that this strategic alignment of public trust has had a devastating effect on the Sussexes' remaining credibility within the United Kingdom and the broader Commonwealth. Polling data collected in the wake of the leaked photograph reveals that public sympathy for the Duke and Duchess has dropped to historic lows, while approval ratings for the Prince and Princess of Wales have experienced a significant upward trajectory. The public has increasingly come to view the Sussexes' persistent media maneuvers not as the actions of progressive humanitarians, but as the desperate thrashings of a failing commercial enterprise willing to sacrifice the privacy of young children for digital metrics. By maintaining a focus on duty and authentic engagement, Prince William has effectively neutralized the weaponized nostalgia of the Montecito apparatus, transforming what Meghan Markle intended to be a triumphal public relations victory into a definitive demonstration of the enduring strength and stability of the modern British monarchy. The deepening structural decay of the entire Montecito enterprise became an undeniable reality for global media analysts as the summer of 2026 approached. Tom Bower's forensic examination of the Sussex corporate network reveals that the ultimate failure of the anniversary photograph deployment was merely a symptom of a much larger, systemic breakdown occurring within their commercial infrastructure. This operational decline was brilliantly articulated in a devastating analytical exposé published by veteran royal journalist Tom Sykes, who directed public attention to the stark physical and financial limitations under which the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are now forced to operate. Sykes and Bower conducted a detailed visual audit of the physical environment from which the Duchess has been attempting to launch her new commercial empire, specifically focusing on the unvarnished reality of the kitchen inside the couple's multi-million-dollar California villa. The interior featured outdated orange-brown wooden cabinetry, heavy traditional tiling, and hanging copper pots that architectural records indicate have not undergone structural remodeling or modern aesthetic renovation since approximately 2003. Bauer notes that the space closely resembles a generic corporate design model from a mid-tier commercial family restaurant chain rather than a contemporary, high-status luxury estate. In an elite, hyper-competitive enclave like Montecito, where billionaires and high-earning entertainment executives routinely execute total demolition or multi-million-dollar modernizations of newly acquired properties to maintain competitive luxury standards, the decision to film a global lifestyle brand launch inside an unrenovated, dark, and historically dated space reveals a significant capital limitation. It confirms that without the immense support of the British taxpayers and the structural funding of the sovereign estate, which previously provided millions of pounds for the modern, high-end renovation of Frogmore Cottage in Windsor, the Sussexes are facing immense financial boundaries that prevent them from maintaining a competitive, high-status image in the American market. This visual reality serves as an accurate metaphor for the broader institutional chaos that has come to define the Sussex brand. Having severed their connections with the British monarchy and subsequently terminated a significant portion of their professional communications staff late last year due to escalating overhead costs, the couple has transformed their operation into what Hollywood insiders now refer to as a vanity label. This industry term describes a production entity that exists primarily to attach its brand name to external projects because it lacks the internal capital, qualified personnel, and institutional respect to generate original, high-value content from the ground up. The consequence of this structural reduction is the erratic, inconsistent public behavior observed by global audiences over the past months. The public is witnessing a communication strategy that resembles a chaotic, desperate attempt to capture attention at any cost, shifting rapidly from serious international interventions to commercial lifestyle promotions. The total failure of this disjointed strategy was fully demonstrated when their promotional tour of Australia and the Duchess's subsequent speech at the World Health Organization in Geneva produced terrible polling data and a Ploan data significant drop in digital traffic. This collapse in engagement forced the Duchess to deploy the unvetted, historic anniversary album as a desperate measure to regain media relevance. Bauer emphasizes that this action demonstrates a profound state of panic within the Montecito apparatus, as they chose to weaponize a highly controversial, private moment from their royal past in an attempt to stabilize a collapsing financial infrastructure that can no longer support their aggressive lifestyle demands. The long-term trajectory of this transatlantic conflict indicates that the strategic gamble taken by the Duchess of Sussex has permanently failed to achieve its objectives, instead resulting in a severe institutional defeat from which the Montecito apparatus cannot recover. Tom Bauer's forensic investigation concludes that the accidental exposure of the hostile confrontation between Prince Harry and Maria Borrallo has permanently shattered the carefully cultivated facade of victimhood that the Duke and Duchess spent nearly a decade marketing to the global public. Rather than forcing the royal family into a position of compromise or generating a wave of nostalgic sympathy from the American consumer market, this media crisis has completely alienated the couple from the center of power in London, transforming a complex institutional disagreement regarding royal duties into an unyielding, deeply personal battle for family protection. The ultimate consequence of this structural failure is the absolute isolation of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex on a rapidly shrinking social and commercial island. As Prince William continues to solidify his position as a stable, modern, and fiercely protective leader of the British monarchy, the Sussexes are left to navigate a difficult financial landscape without the prestige of the crown or the authentic support of the Hollywood elite. The deafening silence from their celebrity acquaintances during their 8th anniversary confirms that the global entertainment market has grown exhausted by the ongoing drama and transactional relationships emerging from Montecito. Major corporate entities and progressive charities can no longer afford to be publicly aligned with individuals whose brand identity is now permanently anchored to themes of entitlement, workplace volatility, and the public exploitation of young children. With their digital metrics declining, their corporate partnerships shrinking, and an unyielding future monarch enforcing an absolute iron curtain between his family and their commercial pursuits, Harry and Meghan are discovering that their initial departure from the royal family has led them to a position of permanent irrelevance. The unrenovated kitchen, the downsized staff, and the desperate deployment of unvetted historical photographs all serve as definitive empirical proof of an enterprise entering its final phase of structural and financial exhaustion. By choosing to prioritize immediate digital engagement over institutional boundaries and familial privacy, the Duchess of Sussex has inadvertently handed her fiercest critics the ultimate weapon, locking herself outside the palace walls permanently, while the institution of the British monarchy moves forward without them into a stable, unified, and secure future.